Plenty Valley FM presents Sig's Flicks.
And when you hear that, the big man of the movie screen is online. Good morning, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, good morning, Bill. And it's one of those difficult situations where you have a beautiful, lovely, sunny day to get out and do things, and the last place you probably want to be is in a cinema. But I still got to let you know about some wonderful films you might want to see.
Well, you can always hop on your electric bike and ride down to the theatre.
Oh, yeah, that's another possibility. Hook it up down there.
Yeah.
But, I got a couple of interesting films today, and a few little short ones. And people always mention to me, oh, yeah, there's an incredible film you mentioned. What was it? What was the name of that film? So I got a few reminders for you later on as well. But
they can always listen again on Valley Lifestyles on 88.6 plentyvalleyfm.com.au.
That's it. Yeah, listen to it again. We can check it out and find out some of the notes there. So, yeah, always rerun it there. But well, as I said before, though, I'm going to start with the last picture show.
Oh, which one was that?
The very end, the very last one. But that's the name of the film, Last Picture Show. And this is, I was continually impressed by this film. It's such absolutely beautiful, lush photography and stunning color. It's wonderful. It's coming in from India. This is very much like Cinema Paradiso several years ago, back in the 80s. It's a classic film about growing up and learning about films. But we have a 9-year-old kid in India, in the outskirts of town, in a village town, and it's on a train line, a main train line, and his father makes a living by selling refreshments to the people when they stop by for this brief stop in this town. And so they sell tea and a few things and get a bit of chai while you're waiting as the train stops. And we have this kid is quite resourceful. He hangs out with his friends, and it's this gorgeous photography of the kids running through films and lush green films. It just really, really looks spectacular. I kept thinking, this really is a beautiful film, visually anyway. And the rest of the film, of course, it goes very well. We have this 9-year-old kid living with his parents and his little sister, and his dad is quite religious, and the father takes the family to a nearby town, to the Galaxy Cinema, and to see a religious film. And the dad wants to sort of inspire the religion in the kid and keep the religious sentimentalities going well with the family through this film. And the kid, of course, is fascinated by this film, and he becomes quite interested in things like that. And they get together and go along with their friends, and they organize a few things, and they try and get a little bit more interested in films. The old story goes back and sneaks into the theater and WAG school to get into to do that, gets in trouble with his father, goes through a few things. But this is very similar also to Steven Spielberg's film Fableman's recent one about growing up and learning the love of films. But this kid is really resourceful. He gets in with his friends, and they try to organize a few things and get their own sort of makeshift film projection happening through various ways and deeds, and get the things that some of the hijinks these kids get up to. And it's pretty incredible the way they go. And throughout this whole thing, it is a real love of film and a love of various directors we have sort of attributed to it, sort of hinted at going through these things. This kid sees a lot of these Bollywood spectaculars, and he's really fascinated by what goes on. In the meantime, he gets in trouble with Dad, of course, when he finds out maybe he's not in school when he should be, so they go through there. But this is pretty well autobiographical from Pan Mallon, the director and the writer, and the things that go through here are pretty amazing. So the last film show, and it's just nearly 2 hours long, and some of the things come in on this one, I think you'll find. There's credits sort of references to great directors like David Lean and Stanley Kubrick, and even our own Jane Campion is our mentioned. So Australian film director. So it's quite good there. Hitchcock, they're all mentioned, and this film, I think you'll like. It looks stunning, and it's a bit of a tribute, and it's just a lovely film with these kids getting up to things, and it's going through. It's not really a children's film. The kids will like it, but adults will like it as well. Last Film Show.
Is it all in English?
Excuse me?
Is it all in English?
No, it's in the language in the other Indian language, and with the subtitles. And some of it's in English, and some of it's translated. Actually, the last film show is in reference to the fact that a lot of the films are turned across from 35 mil actual films going. And in film projections, that was stopped several years ago, and many films now go through digital projection through computers. And this kid is incredibly interested in saving these films and the projection techniques there, and so he goes from there. So yeah, it's all subtitled and with a little bit of English involved with some of the translations. So yeah, Last Film Show looks very good.
And you've got another one talking about theatres as well.
It is indeed, yeah. Theater Camp, we turned right around a bit. You know, the mockumentary style of filmmaking is a fully fictional film which is made to look like a documentary. And this style has been around for a while, but we continue in this one with Theater Camp. And this is a pretty funny film and pretty hilarious, coming in a pretty concise 90 minutes, a little shorter, but it goes through, it's a classic setup. We have, in New York, we have a theater school which has a disaster happen when the much-loved theater director, the school camp for the kids, the theater director has an accident, and she's taken out of the picture. While she's in a coma in the hospital, they've got to keep this theater school going. And how do you do this? You know, because the bank's foreclosing, and the big, expensive, and well-off theater camp nearby is circling to take it over. And how do things happen? What do they do? What things are you gonna make happen in order to keep this thing afloat, to keep it going, keep it from closing down, and keep it from ending after many decades of providing a theater school and a really good experience for these kids. So what do you do? How do you get it happening? Well, when this woman's son comes to the town, he's a bit of a slacker, a bit of a no-hoper, but he's got visions of grandeur. He thinks he's a big interpreter and a financier, but he's a bit of a slacker, really. And how's he going to get things going here? And many of the people involved with this play are a little bit frustrated by him. We've got another situation where the head of drama has an on-again, off-again relationship with the head of music, and they every year write a play and then put it on for the camp, and the kids go from this. And there's a lot of in-jokes here and a lot of funny, virtual, sometimes a bit silly and hilarious acting techniques to get there to impart on some of these kids and go through. And they can be very resourceful, much like our Indian kids in the films as well. And the way things go through here are pretty amazing and quite funny, and it follows through. There's a little technique where they have sort of running cards that show up, that pop up, that tells you a little bit of the background of some of these characters, and also what happens in the future. Of course, fictitious, of course, but it's pretty well scripted of where they end up and how they go. But we have several things going on in this film, which the way the kids interact with this, and some of the other characters on this. For example, we've got a fake acting teacher. You know, she actually lied on her resume and sort of scammed her way in there. So she had to go through a few things. Plus, we got a head of costume and the head of dance, and they sort of have hilarious routines where they're showing kids, and kids are a little bit mystified, but they go through these things anyway, and they're pretty resourceful, and they go ahead and see how it goes when they put on this play, which is actually about their stricken teacher who's in a coma now, who had an accident earlier. So, theater camp. It's pretty funny. Things go through this one, and a lot of the characters here, I think you'll find a bit engaging, and the performances from some of the kids, you're not really sure whether they're very good performances trying to be bad, or some of them are bad. They come through pretty good. It's a bit of a mixture of that. So it's amazing. Once again, that's called Theater Camp, and you can see that now. So there's several there.
And you've got a couple of previews to go through.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a couple of, I mentioned some of these films earlier. I just want to have a reminder of some of these films, which you guys might want to see. Past Lives is currently screening, and this is a Korean film where we have a lovely couple of kids that get together when they're young, and they have a lot of tough fun and muck around together. There's this boy and a girl, and then she leaves, and her parents take her to Canada, and they reconnect 10 years later, and then 10 further years later, and they look at what could have been, and they had a real connection there, and some of that's still there, and yet their lives go on, and how do they reconnect, looking at maybe some of their past lives, where the title comes from, how they go through there. So it's a little warm and lovely romance film filming from there, once again called Past Lives. And another one you might want to check out, which I've mentioned before and people have asked me about, is called Biosphere. And this is a two-hander with Mark Duplass and Sterling Brown. And this is two guys, the only two people in the film, the last two men alive on Earth, and they're living in a biosphere which they've built for themselves, and they've got to save the world. While the world's gone, sort of in humanity anyway, they've got to sort of continue humanity with what they can do from working with themselves. So some of the crazy, incredible things that happen in this film when they've discovered that things aren't happening the way they should. So once again, that's called Biosphere. So a couple of films you guys might want to check out, and while you're getting interspersed with a beautiful, wonderful sunny day like it is today.
Beautiful. All right, mate. Well, we've run out of time again. Thank you very much for the two stories on film and theatre.